Hey brother! Jar Jar Binks might be the most hated character in the entire Star Wars universe. He's just so annoying. I mean, why did they even include him? Well, what if originally all of his bumbling clumsiness was just a massive facade for his true identity of Ultimate Sith Lord? You guys have been asking me about this one for a while, and since it is Star Wars week and I love this theory, we are going to cover it. I'm going to mention up front that I did not come up with this theory. The original article was created by Reddit user Limpawaru. I will leave a link to her article down in the description box below, and I highly recommend you go check it out. After you watch this video. Oh, Jar Jar, you stupid cartoon rabbit. Why does everybody hate you? Well, it's simple. If you remember back to my Pixar formula video, I go over the 22 rules of good storytelling. And one of my favorites is coincidences that get characters into a bad situation are good. Coincidences that get them out is cheating. Jar Jar is the physical embodiment of breaking this rule. He's clumsy and clueless and often just dumb lucks his way out of every situation. And if this was just funny background comic relief, it might have been acceptable. But it's not. His blunders often advance major plot points or turn the tides of battle. I mean, what is the point of putting the characters in a tricky situation if they don't actually have to overcome it? They just luck their way out. It's just bad and sloppy storytelling. Unless those blunders aren't blunders at all, but instead the careful work of a master Sith Lord. Could Jar Jar actually be pulling the strings for the entire galaxy and working alongside Palpatine? Let's look at the evidence. First, just how we meet Jar Jar Binks. He just happens to be standing right where the Trade Federation lands their ships on Naboo, which doesn't seem so suspicious until a little bit later when we learn that the Trade Federation has landed on the exact opposite side of the planet from the city they are planning to attack. We know this because the Jedi have to travel through the core of the planet in order to beat them to the city. Why land so far away? Why not just land right outside the city? Or heck, just land in the city! Unless you already have a contact on the planet who's waiting to intercept the Jedi who you already know are on board. And that's exactly what happens. Jar Jar just inserts himself into the plot. Everything else around him is fleeing the droid army, but he's not. He just stands there and lets himself get tackled by Qui-Gon. From there, he brings the Jedi to his home city underwater, but watch how he enters the water by doing a 15 to 20 foot jump in the air from a standing position and, throws in some acrobatics for good measure. Acrobatics like this are only seen in the Star Wars universe when performed by a Jedi or a Sith with assistance from the Force. We assume this is just something his species is capable of, and yet when they're fighting the battle droids later in the movie, we don't see any other Gungans perform such acrobatic feats, when you'd think it'd be really helpful to win a battle, but they don't. So it's possible that this initial jump we see from Jar Jar is a Force jump. But it's that initial assumption on us that is Jar Jar's true power, to deceive people by playing up their assumptions and expectations of him. We are accustomed to seeing Force users use the Force, and somewhat openly, and often accompanied by some sort of flashy combat skills like lightsabers or shooting lightning out of your hand. And this seems to be where Jar Jar excels, specializing in other parts of the Force like persuasion and mind tricks. Not that he doesn't have some combat prowess, but we'll get to that. The thing about Force persuasion is it seems to involve waving your hand in some way while you do it. These aren't the droids you're looking for. Follow me on Twitter. But Jar Jar is far less obvious, and yet watch his hands here as he convinces Boss Nass to promote him to General, or Padme to promote him in the Senate, or, and this one's kind of small, but asking the entire Galactic Senate to forfeit their powers to who? Palpatine? Seriously, who in their right mind would make Jar Jar a general? But whatever, right? Jar Jar's just an animated guy. Lots of people talk with their hands waving about, right? Oh, it gets much worse. Watch here as he literally mouths along with Padme, feeding her words via the Force.
The Queen wishes it. The Queen wishes it. The Queen wishes it.
And not just once, but twice.
Well, I don't approve. Well, I don't approve. Well, I don't approve.
And speaking of Jar Jar's mouth, how about here when he smiles at Qui-Gon's funeral? Are you kidding me? Remember, Jar Jar is an animated character, so this isn't a nervous twitch or involuntary action by the actor. Every single move he makes is carefully animated into the film. Which brings us now to battle droids and Jar Jar's combat skills. Now, much like Jar Jar, all of the battle droids are animated, so you have to assume that every movement they make is very intentional. So with that in mind, let's watch one in particular during this scene. Watch first as Jar Jar apparently bumbles his fall here on Qui-Gon's left. Then they cut and Jar Jar drops to the ground on Qui-Gon's right. Now maybe that's just a continuity error, but maybe Jar Jar is using force speed to jump from one side of the balcony to the other and split the battle droid's attention. Watch this battle droid's head. It initially fires a shot on Jar Jar's original position, then tracks his movement across the balcony. The droid behind him even does the same thing, tracking his movement and then redirecting a shot at him. And then there's this scene on the battlefield where you can pretty much watch him using the force. Jar Jar's leg is tied up on another droid and it looks like he accidentally shoots other droids trying to shake it off. But watch his arm here as he basically does the exact motion the droid then performs. Seriously, he doesn't even go to dodge even though he's looking right at the droid. He takes a step towards it. He knows this attack is going to work. This is very intentional. Then he does the same thing with the enemy behind him. Again, watch his arm. Heck, even the title of the movie, The Phantom Menace, would make more sense. What does the Phantom Menace mean? Basically, an unknown enemy. Based on all the marketing before the movie, we all assume this is going to be Darth Maul because of his striking appearance and evil look. And indeed, he is evil, but it's not unknown if it's in all of your marketing. We all already know who that's going to be. It's not a surprise. After you see the movie, you assume the Phantom Menace is Palpatine because he appears to be this good senator, but you know he's bad. But again, this doesn't really work because everybody already knew that going into the movie. Palpatine is not an unknown enemy in the same way Anakin is not an unknown enemy. We already know they are going to be the bad guys. That's why we're seeing the prequels, to watch that exact transformation. So it's not a surprise. And that's important because this is a franchise known for possibly the greatest reveal in cinematic history. Do you think they're going to put a mystery in their title with the reveal already being known? No. Now, to be fair, maybe that wouldn't be true if this was the first movie you saw. And you can argue all day about which order to watch the Star Wars movies in, but the fact is they did come out in a particular order. And to that end, George Lucas wanted the prequel trilogy to rhyme with the original trilogy, for them to almost be a reverse reflection of each other. Anakin and Luke having very similar stories, except Anakin goes dark while Luke goes light, and in many ways they do rhyme with each other. For example, in episode 1, Obi-Wan is a Padawan who sees his master get killed by a Sith. Then in episode 4, Obi-Wan is now the master and is killed by a Sith in front of his Padawan. And there are a ton of other examples, but it begs the question, who was Jar Jar supposed to rhyme with? Well, if you believe everything I've said so far, that Jar Jar is truly hiding all of his true potential, then you basically have to assume he's up to no good, simply because of the fact that he is hiding them. So if the original plan was to have Jar Jar be revealed as a terrible villain in episode 2, which would have been a great rhyme with the great reveal in episode 5, then we just have to look for a character in the original trilogy that was introduced as bumbling comic relief, only to be revealed to be a great Force user. So, think about it. Who does that fit? Wait for it. Got it? All together? Yoda. Yes, my belief is that the story they didn't tell was that Jar Jar Binks was originally Yoda's evil counterpart. How great would it have been to see Yoda face off and defeat Jar Jar in episode 2 instead of fighting Count Dooku? It would have been a crazy reveal and shown us why Yoda was so respected. Because really, in lightsabers duels, the two big ones Yoda has end in a draw and a loss. I mean, Yoda finishes the series 0-1-1. So why didn't they do this? Well, my guess is that in episode 1, they were trying to create this beloved character that could really shock the audience in episode 2. But instead they created a hated character. And not a hated character by the other characters in the movie, but a hated character by the audience because of the lazy writing. And it was so visceral a fan response that they just chickened out and went with Count Dooku instead. And my question for you and everyone else is, do you think this was the original plan and should they have done it? Let me know down in the towel section below and I will see you in another life, brother.
These socks are amazing!
Another common trait for the Sith is to have yellow eyes. Jar Jar has yellow eyes, but so does the rest of his race, so nobody notices. Also, Jar Jar is from Naboo, and Palpatine is from Naboo. I mean, geez, in Star Wars, that's like going to school together being best friends. Anyway, if you want to see more Star Wars videos, you can check out this video here where I talk about how Jedi are evil, or this video where I talk about how we are all Sith, and Ben has been doing an awesome Fast Facts series on Star Wars here, so you can click here for that playlist. Please like this video if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss any other future Star Wars content, and see you next time.